Welcome back to another episode of the Fort Johnson podcast. I'm your host, and today we're discussing a topic that impacts every member of our military community, Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month, or SAAPM. Throughout April, the Department of Defense and installations like Fort Johnson are raising awareness, promoting prevention efforts, and supporting survivors. We'll talk about the importance of fostering a culture of dignity and respect, the resources available to those in need, and how every one of us can play a role in prevention. Stay with us as we explore the initiatives, hear from the subject matter experts, and learn how we can all contribute to a safer, more supportive environment. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are watching our program. I am Jeff England from the Fort Johnson Public Affairs Office. We're in the Fort Johnson podcast studio. With me today, I have two lovely ladies that work for SHARP and the whole program. I've got with me today Staff Sergeant Kyla Worthy, and she's the SHARP Victim Advocate. Hello, thank you for coming over. I appreciate it. And Gustacia Gabriel. Got it.
Forgetting my name right.
I'm already. I swear, my brain is just like all over the place. It's like a firework going off, and it's like.
I can relate.
But she's the lead SARC, why don't you go ahead and let everybody know exactly what your guys' jobs are, because a lot of people know that if you're coming to see them, something's gone wrong.
Thank you for having us on your podcast today. As you said, my name is Gustacia Gabriel, and I am the Installation Supervisory SARC and Lead SARC for the Fort Johnson community. And today I have with me, as he stated, one of my victim advocates, Staff Sergeant Worthy. She's been in the program for about 2 years now. So one thing that we try our very best to do is to be available to anyone in our community who needs assistance. And luckily for us, our sign, SHARP, contact us 24/7, is probably one of the most visible things that we have on the installation. So soldiers, family members instinctively come to us first, really, for a lot of different issues that they may be having. And it's one of our responsibilities to ensure that they get to the right agency to provide them with assistance. And that is called the no wrong door approach that we utilize in concert with our equal opportunity advisors that we have here on the base, EEO, ASAP, Family Advocacy, any one of those programs who are here to help people in need. We try our best to get them to the right program if it's not SHARP.
Now, I can see, sometimes there'd be a mistake made on who to call. And we've got, what happens if they call you and they were actually supposed to go to Family Advocacy? Is there going to be a violation of what's it called, privacy or anything like that?
No, no violation. So if somebody does come to us, and once we use the word figure out what it is that they actually need. If it is Family Advocacy, we'll contact Family Advocacy for them and ensure that they get to them, not just send them over there. We'll either coordinate, hey, meet us here, we'll drop them off over there, or follow me, we'll get you to Family Advocacy. We also have the Fort Johnson We Care app. We can refer people to that app, and everything that they need in terms of first response is located on that Fort Johnson We Care app. So we won't turn people away. We will always provide assistance and support.
That's weird, because I was going to ask somebody for something, and they referred me to the We Don't Care app.
No, we actually do care. We care. And I'm glad we can find some humor in what we do. And we have to, because usually when people come see us, especially if it's specifically for sexual assault, that is something that people have a hard time, talking about, especially if they were violated and they didn't provide consent. So them walking through that front door and asking for help says a lot.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to talk about their sexual experiences, especially with a stranger, so that takes courage to do
Yes,
that.
it does. It really does. And I think that anybody that has any kind of experience like that, it is very important that they get all the help and support that they can possibly get.
Right.
And I'm glad you guys are here to provide that. I mean, now according to how does Fort Johnson rate on compared to all the other installations? It's probably average, or are we even going to say we've got worse of a problem than other bases?
I wouldn't say that. For installation this size, we have around 8,500, and if you include the RTU, the rotational units, when they come here, sometimes we can have up to like 15,000 soldiers that we're providing support to. But I've been here since 2019, and although our numbers have relatively remained consistent with between 50 and 60 reports made each year on this installation. Now, that number does include delayed reports. Maybe it didn't even happen at Fort Johnson. It happened somewhere else. That still goes, on our tracker as a report made, on this installation. But I think we're about average, and I hate to use the word average, but...
Yeah, I was trying to find the right word for it, but, it's like... There are certain cities that you don't want to go into, like they're more dangerous and stuff. And I like to think that Fort Johnson is a safe, caring community, and I would love for it to be. We have no problems whatsoever. That'd be pretty weird, and then I'd have to wake up and find out that I'm in the Matrix.
Yeah,
because you're not going to get that anywhere. But I know there is one thing I am absolutely positive in that we do our best to try to help and make sure that everyone is safe and
definitely.
Yeah,
that's one thing I can say about the leadership here on this installation. All of our commanders at every level, they want to make sure that they are doing the right thing when someone does report a sexual assault. And unfortunately, sometimes is a soldier in that same unit with that victim. And it may seem like, everything is going against the subject, but they do have to protect both soldiers, involved. But they try their best to be as transparent as they can be with the processes. And our victim advocates in Sonworthy has had several cases. The biggest part of their job is managing expectations. We appreciate you coming forward. We understand that it took a lot of courage for you, to do that, but we have to trust the processes that we have in place and let it play out.
Yeah.
Yeah, let it play out.
Yeah, I think the first thing is, what do you expect to have this resolved, or what do you expect out of this kind of thing? Because I've gone into certain places and asked, and they didn't even ask me. It's like, okay, well, what outcome are you expecting or hoping for? And from what they were telling me, it's like, well, you're in the wrong office. We ain't going to help you here. It's like, but that's just me.
Yeah. I mean, sadly, the problem that the military has is, we're under like a microscope, if you will. This is a problem in society, and we get soldiers, brand new soldiers every day in the military, and we are responsible for having them, change all those negative things that they did before, they decided to join the military and wear this uniform and protect and serve. And it is, it takes time. But I think if everybody treat people how they want to be treated, I don't think we'll have this problem. But again, it's not a problem that's just in the military. This is a problem that we have, within our societies. And sadly, I don't know what we can do other than be as vocal as we can be about, hey, these types of behaviors are not welcome. You can probably go to jail for this, and teaching, training, showing, and not just talking.
Yeah.
About what we can do.
Absolutely.
Actually physically showing what we can do.
Yeah, I think the only way to really get rid of it completely is to have the human race stop existing, because you're always going to find somebody that thinks that the rules don't count for them.
Exactly.
Now, when somebody comes forward, how much emphasis is put on making sure that what the story is, or what they're coming forth and telling you, their side of the story, how much emphasis is put on making sure those are accurate accounts of what's happened? Or do you just take everything that they say as fact?
So one of the things that we do when a person comes to our office to report a sexual assault is we make sure that what they're reporting is actually sexual assault. We'll read them the definition for sexual assault as the DOD has prescribed in our, appropriate regulations, and then we'll ask them, is this what happened to you? Yes. One thing that our victim advocates and our SARCs try not to do is ask repeated imposing questions, because if they decide to talk to CID, they're going to ask them a lot of questions, and probably on more than one occasion. So we don't want to force them to tell us their story about what happened, because they're going to have to repeat it again. But if they want to tell us everything that happened, by all means, we're going to listen. But we're protected. We can't be called, if we are a victim advocate, into a courtroom to testify to what that person tells us. We're protected on MRE 514. But CID, however, is not. So we try not to get into every little thing that happened. But again, we will listen if somebody wants to tell us, everything that happened. And I'm sure Sergeant Worthy can probably add a little bit more to this, since she's a victim advocate and she does, get that part of it.
Well, as a victim advocate, Kyla, what is your main job? What is your most important thing that you have to do?
The main part that I usually focus on is, like, if somebody does come in and they need my help, I make sure I do whatever is necessary to get them the help that they need. Whether if that's making appointments for them, or if they needed just, that support in general, I'm able to kind of be there and to kind of make things the process a bit easier, managing their expectations as well along the way. So
now for the month of April is Sexual Assault Awareness Prevention Month. And what events are you planning to do to spread the word and shine a light on this?
Well, we are definitely encouraging all of our unit leadership to take part in activities during the month of April. We're going to start by hijacking the CG's golf tournament. So on April the 11th, we're going to do this drive called Drive Out Sexual Assault. So we'll be out there on the golf course with the players, spreading awareness along the trail, if you will, of the golf course. Every Wednesday, we'll be at the commissary handing out information about this program and just talking to the community. Every Friday in the month of April, we'll be over at the PX doing some similar things, just outreach with the community. We have Denim Day at the end of April. It's usually the last Wednesday of every April, and this year is on the 30th of April. And if you're not familiar with that event, we have these buttons that says, "Ask me about Denim Day." And we would gladly give the story about why we wear denim on Denim Day.
Oh, actually, I think I've heard that story before, but I wear Denim Day every day. Just, I don't have my denim jacket anymore, though, and I need to get a denim shirt with a denim jacket and a denim hat, and then I can come in. I'll denimed out.
Yeah, and I know our victim advocates who are embedded in our units have activities planned, and Sergeant Worthy will talk about a couple of those events that she has for BJAC.
Talk to me.
Okay, so one of the events that we're planning on doing is a talent show. We're going to do a talent show. We have a lot of people that have poetry. They like to do songs and things like that.
Oh, is it going to be like slam poetry?
But they can do slam poetry. Yes, definitely. So we are planning to do a talent show on April 16th at BJAC at the hospital and the DFAC. So that reminds me of the talent show they had on the TV show Scrubs.
Oh yeah.
It's like, wow, those are pretty good.
You got a lot of talent on this base.
Yeah,
really does.
Yeah.
Yep.
And all I can do is talk. A lot. So we got, and so Fridays, or you got Wednesdays at the commissary, Fridays at the PX, and you'll be over at BJAC in the middle of the month.
Yes, in the middle of the month. And then we'll be on the 30th, we'll be at the PX for Denim Day. We are planning to do like an exhibition, like what were you wearing in this situation? So it's showing instances that, what I'm wearing is not my consent, and that is showing examples of what people are wearing, and that, it's not a certain dress code that exists that would cause somebody to do an act like that, like to cause somebody to commit sexual assault. So what was she wearing is kind of showing that example, because there are people that were wearing sweatpants, or there were people that were wearing blue jeans, just like Denim Day, because they were trying to say, because that person's jeans was too tight, that's why they were asking for it, but they weren't. But with Denim Day, people wear the denim as a solidarity, act of solidarity, to say that, my clothes is not my consent. So
now now on the flip side of that, there are steps you can take to keep yourself out of these situations and not put yourself in a place where somebody's going to do that. I equate it to not blaming the victim. First and foremost, never. But if I'm going to walk through a sketchy neighborhood at night holding my wallet above my head, I'm not asking anybody to do something, but maybe I shouldn't have put myself in that situation. So we have to keep an eye out for, situations and avoid them. I mean, if you don't handle alcohol well, don't drink until you black out or pass out. You're asking for problems, and it's, even though you're not asking to be assaulted, it's just don't put yourself in the situation. Stay away. It's like if you have a problem drinking, don't go to the bar. If you have a problem smoking, stay away from people that smoke. Don't light yourself on fire. Well, yeah, actually, I recommend that whether you smoke or not. Don't light yourself on fire.
Well, it's kind of difficult to say, don't do this, don't do that. Or if you wasn't here, this wouldn't have happened to you. A couple years ago, we had a trainer that came in from Hawaii, and his message is start with the I. If you work on yourself as an individual, regardless of who you are, but if you work on yourself and espouse to do things positively, make great choices, especially when you're faced with a decision, do I do this or not do this, i.e. predator? Because anybody could be that person who makes that wrong decision with regards to helping their battle buddy, their friend, their coworker, whomever it is, back to their, wherever it is where they live. Saying if I wasn't walking down the street in New Orleans, where I'm from, in the middle of the night, which I won't do because I grew up there, I know what things happen, at night.
Especially waving a $20 bill over your head.
Yeah, but it still doesn't mean...
It doesn't mean
mug me.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was trying to say.
It doesn't mean, mug me. Like what Sergeant Worthy said, my clothing, what I'm doing, what I'm wearing, where I'm going is not consent for you to do what you want to do to me without my permission. So I think if we start with the I, we can definitely get to a point where we're not committing these offenses, upon one another. Unlike, previous post social media and everything else, where it was these stranger, sexual assaults. Today, that is not the case. Usually when a sexual assault happens, that person has had at least one interaction with that individual who did X, Y, and Z to them. So it's not a stranger. It's somebody that you're familiar with, probably, somebody that you've seen, talking just in casual. But that person is now in a position where they can either hurt you or help you. And we want them to help,
absolutely,
not hurt. So start with the I.
Yes.
Start with the I. One thing that we try to do, so every month we have a review of all of our cases that we have open on the installation. And, we start small with a goal. Can we go 30 days without a sexual assault? And I can say from November through the end of January, we had 0 reports of sexual assault. So that was huge.
That is great news.
So just starting small, making small little goals, and striving towards that. And the biggest thing is ensuring people that if they do experience that they have a free place that they can come to where we won't judge. We're not there to decide whether or not something happened. I often tell the victim advocates, I am glad that I'm not CID. I'm glad that I don't have to investigate these.
Yeah, see, now that right there is brand new to me. You told me something I did not know. I always thought if there was a problem, go to Sharp, and they're the ones that do take care of it. So it's not. I was wrong.
And we'll help
CID.
get you. Yeah, we'll help get you.
Why isn't CID in here?
I don't know. They have a lot to do. Our agents are absolutely, they work very, very hard.
Yeah.
They really do. They work hard to try to bring, things to a I'm gonna use the word resolution for proper, adjudication. So everybody is entitled to due process. So, and that's part of that, managing expectations with the persons that come see us, for these reports. We have to manage expectations. Everybody is not going to go to jail. But one thing I can say about the military, all the services, is that they try their best to get to some type of resolution through, the appropriate adjudication of whatever was reported. I'm not going to tell you just get out of my office. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like we act as a voice for those people. Like, so if there was a victim, we act as that voice. So what the victim wants, we can be like that middle person between the victim and the CG. So if there's something that the CG could do to help, or the commander can do to help, we're acting as that voice to them. So.
Now, I'm more familiar with the family advocacy program, but there you have two different types of reports that somebody can make: a confident or a unfiled one, and I always forget the names of them. It's a closed report, or no, it's.
Let me just stop you right there. Tell them so unworthy.
It's restricted and unrestricted.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's exactly what I was going to say. But so you have the restricted and unrestricted, but there's also other ones where you can get you can be moved to a different installation. Do you guys have programs like that, or is that something for a different department?
So that would be a part of unrestricted reporting. So with unrestricted, that's basically law enforcement would know about the situation and they would be actively investigating your case. Where restricted, that's basically so that person can get the help that they need. So if they filed restricted reporting, law enforcement wouldn't be notified. Also, they would be able to go to the ED or the emergency department or emergency room. They can go to get legal assistance as well. And they'll be able to go through those channels and that with people that have a certain amount of confidentiality, instead of being investigated and having to talk about their story over and over again. Because it may be a situation that they're not ready for yet.
Now, can they be, let's say they work with the accused. Yes, thank you. The accused works with the accuser. Or is there, during the investigation, is there a way to separate them and make them not have to be in the same room together?
Oh, definitely. So whenever a report is made and we make the proper notifications to the leadership, so that commander has about 6 hours from the time of that report to make a credible report determination and whether or not to put a military protective order in place or an MPO that everybody is familiar with. Usually if 2 soldiers are involved, the command will do that. We try not to move the victim unless they request to be moved. But usually if some type of change in work takes place, normally the command will exercise judgment and move the subject to an alternate work location. The victim, you mentioned earlier about can they get a transfer? Yes, if they make an unrestricted report of sexual assault, one of the options that they have available is to request to leave the installation. Usually most soldiers don't want to leave, but they do want to remain in their job, doing their job. They just don't want to be around that subject. And sometimes with the sergeant major's support, we'll get an intra-post move done. Say something happened in the 46 engineers. They can say, hey, I am a signal specialist. I can go over to 519th hey, let's get the sergeant majors involved and get that soldier reassigned to 519th.
Change units,
So,
yeah.
Exactly. So our sergeant majors do a great job, with doing that. But if a soldier, and it's very rare, wants to leave, then we'll process an expedited transfer request through HRC.
Now, I don't even know if it's happened here, but I've got personal experience with this one. Has anybody ever been falsely accused? And if so, what happens to the person that falsely accused them and, basically ruins their reputation, ruins their life and stuff like that?
Well, sadly, false reports do happen, but not as frequently as people may think. And unfortunately, if somebody does make a false report, there isn't a lot that, especially if it's a soldier that's making this false report, that would really be up to the commands whether or not to take any type of appropriate action if it comes out that this report was absolutely false. And again, that does not happen as frequently as people may think. Probably less than 1% of overall reporting, across, DOD is probably, a false report.
Well, that's good to know, at least.
Yeah. So, but it does happen, and that's a part of trusting the system. CID, those investigators do a great job, and social media is a great tool that they use to verify or whatever accounts of what transpired that led to somebody being accused, of sexual assault. Like I said, I don't want to be CID because they have a very, very important job, and it's difficult. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, it would. I could imagine them getting PTSD from having to listen to all the bad stuff.
Yeah.
And it's how many people do you have working over in your office?
So our program, the SHARP program across the Army, we went under restructuring March of last year, as a matter of fact. So right now we currently have 11 full-time SHARP professionals on the installation, and that's a mix of Department of the Army civilians as well as our green suiters, our military personnel. And we currently have SARCs and VAs embedded at like our brigades. For instance, the hospital, 310, the garrison, they're physically located in those AOs, but they are aligned underneath General Curl, our senior mission commander. And we still have a couple of collateral duty personnel in our battalions. They will eventually be phased out, but right now we are still utilizing our collateral duty personnel in a limited capacity, but we still have them.
That's good to know. I mean, that's it. Now, is there a SHARP hotline that people can call if something does happen?
We get calls on our hotline almost every day, 5 to 10 calls a day, probably. A lot of it is informational. Hey, I'm trying to reach the library. Okay. But we do have Installation SHARP hotline. That number is 337-718-7272. And the SARC or the VA who's on call will respond immediately, usually within an hour, like if they're at the hospital or something. But normally most of our calls are informational, but that is a phone number that is manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And if we were to wrap everything up into a nice, pretty bow, and what would you say the most important thing about SAAPM is?
This is bringing continued awareness, to this, senseless, crime that we continue to commit, in our communities across, the services across, the country. Just bringing awareness to it. And one thing that we've seen in this program, especially with our new service members that join the ranks, things that they did when they were in high school was, I'm going to use the word acceptable. It was okay.
Yeah.
It was funny. But when you put this uniform on and you raise your right hand to want to serve, you can't engage in those negative behaviors that bring negative, attention, to the ranks.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed is the kids nowadays, or the younger soldiers, the younger people are, they act a certain way that is unacceptable. I mean, in my eyes, it's completely unacceptable, but they said, well, that's just how everybody acts. That's just how it is. Yeah. I mean, that even goes with like hitting and
Yeah, just do demonstration in your own, individual personal actions, showing what right looks like versus saying, don't do this. You know what? You should probably do this right here.
Yeah.
Just showing them the right way.
Well,
Yeah.
Also being that voice, like speaking up when you do see something that is inappropriate or it could make somebody uncomfortable, like being that person to say something, or even if it's not directly to them, you can say it to somebody that's willing to walk up to them and say, hey, that's wrong, you shouldn't be doing that.
exactly. Create an environment where that kind of behavior is not tolerated.
Exactly.
Love it.
Active intervention and prevention.
Look at that.
active.
I'm all over this. Well, Kyla, Gustacia, I appreciate you guys coming in. And if anybody has problems with Sharp, I'll have them give you a call.
Awesome. We are available Monday through Friday, physically in the office.
All right, Monday
Always
through Friday. And that phone number again, 337-718-7272.
That is correct.
Oh, look at me. I'm all over it. I'm all over it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate everybody here watching, and I appreciate everyone being a subscriber. That's what I wanted. I want you to subscribe. Hit that subscription. Hit that subscribe notification bell, and give us a thumbs up. Give us a comment. Let me know what you're thinking, what you're doing out there, and if you're interested in seeing somebody or a certain MOS or a certain person on the show, drop us a comment in the comments down below. I appreciate it. I'm Jeff England from the Fort Johnson Public Affairs, and we'll be listening and watching at you later.
That was easy.